You walked away with your integrity still intact. They were sure you'd come crawling back. But months went by and something music changed. They stopped chasing you. Instead, they started to unravel. Today, we're going to look at why losing an empathy doesn't just wand a narcissist. It lights the fuse on their final, irreversible breakdown. Picture this: music, the person who once dominated every room, now cancels plans week after week. Their confidence has worn away. Their stories no longer make sense. Not because of you, but because you were the last mirror holding up their illusion. Without you, that reflection shattered. Why does this matter? Because their collapse isn't revenge, it's exposure. You weren't just a partner. You were the cornerstone of their manufactured identity. And when that cornerstone disappears, even the most polished music facade can't stay standing. This isn't karma. It's cause and effect. You believed they were powerful. The charm, the control, the icy composure, it all seemed unshakable. What you didn't see was the framework underneath: your empathy, your forgiveness, your willingness to believe them. Take away that support, and the music entire structure caves in. This isn't a guess, it's psychology. A narcissist's identity is parasitic, built not from inner strength, but borrowed from people who passed their inflated self-image, and empaths reflect it best. When you leave, you don't just pull back your energy, you pull away their sense of music existence. That sudden silence from them isn't peace, it's shutdown. Without your emotional reactions feeding their act, their system stalls. No theatrics, no hoovering, just the empty echo of a self that never fully formed and now has nowhere to hide. And listen, you weren't imagining their decline. You were watching a slow breakdown. A system built on falseness cannot last forever. The energy it takes to hold up a fake persona, to gaslight, to manipulate, to smear is massive. Without supply, that energetic debt has to be pranged. This isn't about gloating. It's about setting you free from guilt. It's the natural result of a life built on instability. You didn't break them. Reality did. Your boundaries simply sped up what was already rotting inside. Let this land. The most dangerous lie they sold you was that they were untouchable. And the narcissist is split, divided between their real self and the character they project. That split doesn't just strain the mind, it eats away at the spirit. So let's pull back the curtain on this final unraveling. The narcissist isn't just losing control. They're losing the only thing that ever made them feel real: you. Without you, there's no one to impress, nothing to become, no role to play. Narcissists don't have stable self. They stage one. And every show needs an audience. You weren't just a lover. You were the audience that made the act believable. No audience means no show. No show means no identity. Their mind gets stuck in constant alertness, not scanning for outside threats, but for cracks in their own disguise. Did they slip? Did someone notice? This nonstop self-watching drains them past the point of holding it together. Without your affirmation, the system crashes. Hear me. This isn't ordinary stress. It's a deep kind of starvation. They reject their real self so completely that their nervous system mirrors the emptiness inside. Sleep disappears. Focus breaks apart, not because of random illness, but because there is no mirror reflecting their being. Stillness terrifies them because stillness invites truth. So they drown silence with distraction, new admirers, chaos, substances, yet without an empath's depth. These new sources feel thin, brief, and deeply unsatisfying. The hunger only grows with every failed bond. Their strange symptoms aren't random. They're signals. Fatigue isn't laziness. It's the exhaustion of acting human while feeling hollow. Anxiety isn't weakness. It's the mind refusing to rest while the spirit stays exiled. Stiz, so ruthless. Music. The body speaks when the soul cannot. On the inside, they are soaked in shame, but after holding it for years, because they can't process shame, their mind absorbs it, and what stays stuck turns into slow psychological erosion. They confuse admiration with nourishment, but applause doesn't feed the soul. Validation doesn't heal trauma. Love bombing doesn't fix a broken core. Their whole survival depends on outside supply. A true self grows from inner alignment, and without that alignment, even the most magnetic performer turns into an empty vessel. This breakdown isn't sudden. It has been building since childhood. From the moment they learned love was conditional on performance, and each trade left another scar etched into their nervous system. Now, many years later, those wounds are surfacing as a full system breakdown. Their deepest fear isn't being left, it's being nicked in themselves. To actually feel their own pain, their own emptiness, their own unmet longing would destroy the illusion they've guarded for years. So they numb out, they failed, distract themselves, they keep performing, but the body keeps score. And eventually, the bill comes due. Understand this. Their collapse is not your victory. It's their reckoning. And it's written not in dramatic apologies, but in silence, in canceled plans, in empty eyes, in a life force that seems to slide through their fingers like smoke. The walking shell you once knew isn't moving toward you. They're drifting further and further from themselves. The turning music point doesn't show up with a medical label. It arrives in the quiet moment when they stop hoovering. No more late night messages. No more I miss you. Just silence. And in that silence, you see they're not playing games. They're fractured, and they know it. Stay with me. Watch how they scramble when new people can't fill the hole you left. 1 week they're showing off someone new. The next they're alone again. Not because they're picky, but because no one reflects their inflated image the way music and empathy does. Shallow mirrors only show the surface. Music try to convince you their fall is your fault. If you hadn't effed, I wouldn't be this lost. But here's the truth they cannot face. Your boundaries didn't cause their collapse. Their avoidance did. Your absence removed the numbing. Now the pain is obvious. This is the psychological twist they never saw coming. Their downfall isn't driven by public exposure. It's fueled by private implosion. As more people walk away, fewer mirrors are left to hold up their fake self. And without reflection, the illusion fades. They may try one last hoover, not with charm, but with panic. I need help. I'm not okay. Not because they've healed, but because their inner structure is failing and they're desperate for support. This isn't recovery. It's emergency patchwork. Don't confuse collapse. Their fear isn't about the hurt they caused you. It's about losing control of the story. In that moment, you're not a loved one. You are a witness they can't silence. And the more clearly you see their unraveling, the more their power falls apart. This is where the power truly shifts, not with loud confrontation, but with calm distance. The day you stop fearing their breakdown and see it as the natural result of a life built on instability, everything changes. You don't owe them explanations for why you won't go back. You simply live as if their unraveling no longer belongs to you. They may lash word, they may tell mutual friends you ruined them. They'll paint themselves as victims of your supposed coldness. But projection is their last shield. Because deep down, know the truth. They didn't just lose you. They lost the version of themselves that only music existed through your eyes. You are no longer their audience. You are your own witness. And that shift from music caretaker to sovereign sends shockwaves through their fragile system. a self-sufficient you cannot be controlled, a grounded you cannot be baited, a quiet you forces them to face the one sound they've spent a lifetime drowning out, their own emptiness. Let this sink in. This turning point is more than your freedom. It's their reckoning. They can copy the look of wellness, but they can't create it from within. They can fake vitality, but they can't keep it going. And without someone to perform for, they freeze in the dark. So instead, observe their collapse not with joy, but with clarity. Without your belief holding up their act, their social energy fades away. They post less. They pull back, not because they're secretly thriving, but because performance needs fuel and their tank is empty. The curtain has dropped. They start cycling faster, jumping from person to person, chassis, ang the high you once gave them. Yet it never matches what you brought. Music saw. You saw pieces of their humanity and stayed until you finally realized that staying meant self-erasure. Music. Then their mask starts slipping in plain sight. Friends notice the weight change, the shaking hands, the sudden mood swings, hidden music as stress. New partners feel it too. The shine is gone. The spark is dim. The body can no longer carry the ego's demands. And in that growing gap, reality seeps through. No fresh admiration calms. Be voice that gets louder every day. You are empty. The void they spent decades covering music with charm, conquest, and control is no longer hidden. It is all that's left. And now it echoes louder than ever, filling every quiet room with its sound. They will rewrite the past plas with careful detail, insisting you left them in their darkest hour or made their breakdown worse. Not because it's true, but because your clarity exposes their lies. If they can damage your credibility, they can briefly rebuild their story of being the victim. But truth has more weight than distortion. Every survivor who walks away weakens their facade. Every boundary you hold becomes a crack in their armor. Slowly, the world stops cheering for them and starts see in them clearly, not as the powerful force they come clearly, not as the powerful force they pretend to be, but as the emotionally drained manipulator they have always been. A slow, unavoidable slide into being irrelevant. As people start choosing music authenticity over drama, steadiness over highs and lows, and honesty over chaos, the demand per their illusion drops. The culture shifts and lies dry up when attention fades. They will never fully understand why you left. In their story, they gave you everything: passion, to ruthless, excitement, devotion. But you weren't looking for a show. You were looking for safety. You wanted someone who could hold space without swallowing yours. They confuse noise with depth, urgency with loyalty. Their tragedy is not yours to carry, fix, or creve. Let them fall apart in the silence they created. Let them face the mirror without your music reflection, without your energy, without your belief keeping their act alive. And now, your freedom began the moment you stopped trying to be the cure for their inner emptiness. While they desperately look for another source, recycling your kindness, copying your calm, studying your vulnerability as a template, for their next target, you are doing something completely different. You are rebuilding from the muse inside out. Not for applause, not for approval, but because music, you finally know you are worth more than being someone's supply. Their collapse was never your job to manage. You didn't cause it, you didn't speed it up. You simply pulled your support from a lie that was already falling apart. Their unraveling is not your burden. It's the result of a lifetime spent running from accountability. Real strength isn't found in digging through their ruins. It's found in refusing to move back into them. You don't owe your energy just because they're in pain. Their pain comes from choices made long before you showed up. Compassion is human. Self-erasure is not noble. Healing begins when you stop tracking their decline, waiting for proof of regret. When you see that their breakdown music isn't proof of growth, it's proof of limits. You weren't weak because they used you. You were strong because you survived it. You were wise because you walked away. You are not broken. You are not cold. You are reclaimed ground. Every boundary you set lays another stone in the foundation of your restored self. Every no is an act of loyalty to your own spirit. Every time you choose quiet over chaos, you declare one thing: my peace is not negotiable. Let their collapse stay their cage. You are free to love someone who doesn't, needs you to disappear so they can feel whole. Someone whose presence fills you instead of someone who honors your empathy instead of using it. You deserve relationships that add to your life. Every time you choose yourself over keepy, their crisis, you take back stolen strength. Every boundary is a comeback. Every silence is protection. Guarding your light isn't sovereignty, and sovereignty shakes too ruthless. Its sovereignty shakes narcissists more than a peaceful room, and the thought of them will not disturb your spirit. Not because the memory is gone, but because you forgave yourself for thinking you had to save them. You will see their suffering never came from you. It came from their refusal to face themselves. You were never the problem. You were the mirror showing their music emptiness, and they smashed the glass instead of facing what it revealed. But you lived through the breaking, and from those pieces, you didn't just rebuild, you evolved. You turned hurt into music clarity, betrayal into boundaries. Your future belongs to someone who not only loves your warmth, but protects your flame. Someone who doesn't just admire your strength, but supports your music peace. Someone who knows that love isn't taken through control or performance. It's given freely when both people are whole and present. They may panic, they may promise to change, but none of that changes your path because you have already stepped off their stage. From this point, your life is no longer defined by their collapse, their approval, or their hunger. It is defined by your calm, your joy, your steady truth. You are always enough.